Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? This is another edition of Prime Sports World presenting you with college football showdown. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, and there somewhere is Matt James, kind of in the blackout, and maybe Christian
How
Simpson.
you doing, buddy?
And maybe Christian, how you doing, brother? And maybe Christian Simpson will be joining us here shortly. But if you want to kick it here and keep it here, we keep all the fresh content here at Prime Sports World daily. Keep bringing the heat 24/7, going live every single day, bringing you the most consistent content here on social media. We go live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you haven't, go ahead and join our NFL Supreme and NBA Supreme Facebook pages and go click that like button, everybody, there at the Prime Sports World Facebook page, and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page as well. But what's going on, Matt James? How you doing, man? Well, I guess I lost Matt James there. But anyways, lot to go over. Week 5 was a let me tell you, man, nothing but short of spectacular with some of these games. I'm gonna be real with you. Week 5, Georgia, Missouri. I did not expect Missouri to bring it to Georgia for literally 3 3/4 of a game. It literally took, the Georgia Bulldogs, literally the whole game to finally come back and beat them in that, that end of that fourth quarter. I did not expect Oklahoma. And, I'm gonna get to Oklahoma. I'm gonna get to Oklahoma. Just give me some time. I'm gonna get to Oklahoma. Okay, great game with Ole Miss and Kentucky. You know, Other than that, I mean, I'm gonna say, Georgia Tech beating Pittsburgh. I didn't know that was gonna happen. That was Georgia Tech. You know what? I've come on here and raved about Georgia Tech a couple times. I think their defense has been slight. I think they played Clemson for 3/4 hard in the beginning of the season. They knocked off Pitt. They're 2-3, 1-1 in the ACC. I'm gonna tell you some teams that surprised me on the upside, and teams that on the downside just that surprised me. On the upside of things, K-State is for real. Adrian Martinez is for real. I mean, he's always been a very talented quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Adrian Martinez has always been a talented quarterback. But what he's done in the last 2 games, I'm going to pull up his stats too. What Adrian Martinez has done in the last 2 games has been nothing short of magnificent. Adrian Martinez in a win against Oklahoma, and I'm going to get to Oklahoma. I'm going to get to Oklahoma. And this is going to be a theme. I'm going to start at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to end it in the end of the show with Adrian Martinez. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you, he's always had potential when he was at Nebraska. He's always played good Big Ten. He was just at Nebraska. Nebraska just stinks. Scott Frost is no longer there, and Nebraska just didn't know how to use him. Well, they kind of did, but they didn't. Last 2 games, Adrian Martinez has accounted for 9 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns on the ground. He's rushed for over 300 yards in his last 2 games against Oklahoma and Texas Tech. And he's thrown for a touchdown in each game. Now, Adrian Martinez isn't going to wow you with his arm, but he's a guy that when he gets out in the open field, he's going to wow you with them legs. Adrian Martinez, he may not be a pro-style quarterback. Adrian Martinez may not be a pro. Adrian Martinez is literally in the mold of your boy that plays for the New Orleans Saints. He's that type of Swiss Army knife of a quarterback. And so, Adrian Martinez is a guy that's going to be in the Heisman consideration. He's going to be in the Heisman consideration. And so when you look at all of that, he's got K-State buzzing right now. And when and the guy I'm thinking about off the top of my head, and it just I always go blank sometimes when I just like start spewing stuff off. I'm talking about Taysom Hill. He's in that mode. Like Adrian Martinez can come into the NFL, and he's going to be able to play a couple positions. Okay, he's going to be able to play a couple positions. He's 6'3", 225. Okay, he's 6'3", 225. He can play H-back. He can play quarterback. He can, goddamn, you can line him up at tight end. For all I give a fuck, excuse me from language. Adrian Martinez is a football player, and he's got K-State in the top 25. Him and Deuce Vaughn, I raved about Deuce Vaughn. That little jackrabbit, that little sucker can go. Deuce Vaughn that little sucker can go. K-State is a dangerous team. K-State is a dangerous team. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. They got a big game going in Iowa State this week, and I'll get to it. K-State's a dangerous team. I'm going to just say that. They got a tough one in Iowa State. But, and I'm all doing all this ranting and raving about Adrian Martinez. We'll get to Iowa State and Kansas. Team on the down end. I talked a lot about Miami last week. Okay? I don't know where the hell Matt James is, so I might just do this solo. Matt James might be somewhere else in Pluto. I don't know where the hell he is today, but it's all good because I'm the star of the show. Let's go. Right now, at least. I said this about Miami. Nobody should ever rank them in the top 25 for the rest of the season. Don't rank Miami for the rest of after you lose to Middle Tennessee State like that. You don't deserve to even sniff the top 25 at all for the rest of the season. Sorry to burst your bubble, Oklahoma Sooner fans, but y'all in that mode too. You should not ever be ranked in the top 25. And I hate to do this to my boy Brent Venables. I hate to do this to my boy Brent Venables. I'm going to let y'all know this. I hate to do this to my boy Brent Venables. Hell of a defensive coach. Supposed to be changing the culture. I don't think he's got all his recruits in there. For Oklahoma yet. He'll change the program and the culture. Some of those guys that were out there on defense from Lincoln Riley's tenure. Let's just throw it out there. From Lincoln Riley's tenure, those are his guys. Brent Venables is gonna get guys that's gonna hit you hard. He's gonna get guys that can get after the quarterback. He's gonna get guys that can run, that can go sideline to sideline. And he's gonna get guys that can make tackles. He's gonna get guys that don't have broken coverages. That's what Brent Venables is gonna bring to Oklahoma. Give it a couple years. But this year, they don't deserve to be in the top 25. Not this defense. This defense is atrocious. 34 points to K-State the week before when K-State wasn't ranked. They went into Norman and embarrassed y'all. Adrian Martinez went into Norman and embarrassed y'all. TCU, y'all went into TCU and got flat out embarrassed. 55-24, you don't deserve to be in the top 25 anymore. As a matter of fact, TCU jumped the rankings. And I'm going to pull the rankings up. We're going to get to the rankings, by the way. We're going to get to the rankings. TCU went from unranked to 17th. That's how much of a whooping they put on Oklahoma. That's how much of a whooping they put on Oklahoma. Oklahoma needs to go to grandma's. In the words of TJ and Christian Sampson, Oklahoma need to go to grandma's house. That's where they need to go. They need to go to grandma's house. Oklahoma doesn't deserve to be in the top 25 at all ever again this year. after the performance that they had against TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Wide open people were getting open. Oh, that's all I gotta say. Wide open men were getting open. Broken coverages. I mean, there were some times, and no knock on TCU. TCU's 4-0. No knock on TCU. You know, Duggan's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Max Duggan's a good quarterback. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, 997 yards. He's got the 4th best QBR in college football. Max Duggan has been playing out of his dang mind this year. Okay? He's been playing out of his dang mind this year. But I'm going to tell you something. The one play that really gets me in this Oklahoma game. One play that really gets me was the Gunnar Henderson catch, where there was not an Oklahoma defender within 30 yards of him, 20 yards. I mean, this dude was so wide open. My grandma could have caught the football and ran it in for a touchdown. And my grandma's damn near 90 years old. Okay? So what I'm telling y'all right now is that Oklahoma doesn't deserve to be in the top 25 at all this year. And I did it with Miami, and I'm doing it with Oklahoma, and I'm probably gonna do it with somebody else. And I'm thinking of let me look at don't come on here. Don't come on here thinking that y'all think y'all gonna sit pretty and think that Izzy's not gonna go to your college football program. You know, let me tell you something. Washington, y'all up next. Washington, y'all up next. Because I'm telling y'all, if Washington loses the way how they lost to UCLA this week in Washington, and UCLA is not a bad team. UCLA is not a bad team. But if Washington somehow loses to Arizona State this week,
they're not going to.
At Arizona State.
All right, I figured everything out. Sorry, guys. Some technical difficulties there. But yeah, Washington's not going to lose this weekend. So just to put it, straightforward as an ASU fan, they're not going to lose.
No, so. And that's totally in your realm because Arizona State's horrible. But if they did lose to Arizona State, they don't deserve to be in the top 25 anymore. Washington's up next on that block. I'm just saying, Matt James. Washington's up next on that block.
Yeah, if they somehow flip tomorrow, yeah, absolutely. They're out of the top 25.
If they get blitzed tomorrow, absolutely they don't deserve to be in the top 25 at all. But I don't think they will lose. But at the same time, I'm on y'all, Washington. I'm just telling y'all, I am on y'all. And I would have said if Georgia would have lost to Missouri, Matt James, I would have said Georgia don't deserve to even go make it to the college football playoff.
No, that knocks them out. That's a bad loss for them.
That would have been a horrible loss for them. They lucky.
Yeah, that's a bad loss.
They lucky. They lucky. They even won that game. And there's another one like Georgia. I'm not gonna get on Georgia. Georgia's one of the best teams in the nation. But if they would have lost to Mizzou last week, y'all would have been on this topic with me. Y'all don't deserve to be in the college football playoff. I'm sorry, but there's no leeway for me for a team of Georgia's caliber to lose to a team of Missouri's caliber. I'm just saying. And nothing wrong. Missouri's been competitive this year. They've been competitive this year. I mean, they got their asses kicked by Kansas State 40-12, but they're competitive.
Well, Kansas State's solid, like you said.
Huh?
Kansas State's solid, like you were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, Kansas State's super solid.
It was at Kansas State too. So I mean, it was one of those where Missouri just didn't show up.
Adrian Martinez is a player. He's a player, and Adrian Martinez has been a player for a few years now. He's just been playing at Nebraska. And it's kind of the same thing. And I'm talking about Washington. Michael Penix, right? He's playing at Indiana, and he's been a player for a few years now in the Big Ten. He goes to Washington, he's starting to light it up. You know what I mean? So no, Adrian Martinez, he's a player. I mean, I'll look at Adrian Martinez numbers at Nebraska.
We got Christian coming on.
Yeah, I'll let Christian on as soon as he comes in and as soon as I see him. But yeah, Adrian Martinez, let me tell you something, man. Adrian Martinez, his numbers at Nebraska, I mean, not too shabby. I mean, last year he threw for over 2,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, but he rushed for 525. He's already almost about to eclipse that probably this week. He'll probably eclipse that this week. Hands down. He'll eclipse that. He'll eclipse that this week. I mean, he's a guy that's already rushed for 2,000, almost 3,000 rushing yards. And 9,000. And then great thing that Austin Pace said something. Kansas style, let them play Bama or Georgia or Michigan. Laughing my ass off. Okay, I said K-State. But since you want to talk about Kansas, okay? Since you want to bring up Kansas, look, Matt James, I'm about to bring up Kansas. Kansas is 5-0 for the first time since 2000 and early.
Wait, we talking their basketball or their football? We talking about Kansas basketball?
No, we talking about Kansas football. They're 5-0. They're 5-0 since like 20.
Like 13 or 14 or something?
Yes, no, since Reason was the quarterback. Remember Reason?
Reason, yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, goodness.
I think it's Mike Reason. I think it's Mike or Todd Reason. Todd Reason.
Tyler, yeah.
Yeah, remember back? I mean, Todd Reason was the quarterback. He led them to the Orange Bowl back in 2008. Kansas it hasn't been good.
08?
Geno was there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Kansas hasn't been good for over 12, 13 years. They're 5-0 and they're playing some great football right now.
They're doing some dirty work too. They won some tough road games against West Virginia and Houston. I mean, those are not easy road games at all for any team.
I'm gonna tell you something. Their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, he's got the best QBR in college football at 95.6. 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. 11 touchdowns, 1 interception.
We'll see tomorrow. TCU is tough.
And he can run that football. One thing I'll tell you about the Jayhawks, they ain't been playing. And it's not like they've been playing weak opponents. You know, they beat Texas Tech, Tennessee Tech, but then they beat West Virginia at West Virginia. They went into Houston and beat Houston at Houston in that double overtime win. They beat Duke, Duke is a solid opponent out of the ACC. They beat Iowa State, who's a solid opponent, who I'll get to later. Kansas been balling. Austin Pace, look, you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, but your Georgia Bulldogs should have never even. They should have been killing Missouri. Anyways, I digress.
I mean, we'll get to this game later in our show, but it's going to be a hell of a game. I mean, TCU can bring it on defense. So, I mean, they took down Oklahoma's offense already. So, I mean, they held them to 24 points, and Oklahoma can score at times. So
Oklahoma can score, but they can't play a lick of defense, man. I mean, those aren't Brent Venables guys.
No, they're not.
They're not. And I said
that 2 years, and they're going to be one of the top defenses right around Bama and Georgia.
And joining the show is my main man, Christian Simpson. What's going on, man?
Man, finally you let me in. Like, damn. What's going on?
I didn't even see you at the bottom there. My bad.
Man, you all good. All right, so what have I missed so far?
We talked about Adrian Martinez. We got a little bit of Kansas football.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Not
I remember last week I previewed Kentucky and Ole Miss on the website. And I remember the first sentence I started, I said, I guess they're just not a basketball institution. Like the football program has really come on the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
But Izzy, we talk off the microphone all the time. I've been telling you about this Kansas team. I really like what Lance Leopold is building out there. He has them believing. And tomorrow they play in arguably the biggest game of their entire football program's history. Like, look, I was saying to myself, in a weekend where it's Red River and it's Texas A&M and Alabama, I preview Tennessee and LSU and TCU and Kansas. That's the beautiful thing about football. You just never know.
No, absolutely. No, you never know. And that's gonna be a hell of a game. And I probably should have put Texas Oklahoma on here, Red River rivalry game as my feature game, but both of them suck. I'm never putting Oklahoma on a feature game ever.
Yeah.
Not this year. Now they don't deserve it. I think Texas might blow them out 35-14. But you know what? That game against TCU might have been different if Dillon Gabriel didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think so too. But I just look at these last two games of Oklahoma, and they reverted to the Oklahoma of old, struggling to get off the field defensively, depending on that offense too much, and then getting in that hole early and just having a tough time bouncing back. Look, I think teams sometimes have that mentality where they feel they can get behind and they can climb back, but it's not always going to work that way. Some teams just aren't going to let you climb back into the game. So that's why it's always key for you to get off to a fast start.
Yeah, we could talk. I could just briefly go over Texas, Oklahoma. I'm gonna tell you this right now: Xavier Worthy's gonna have a hell.
Oh yeah,
Quinn Ewers is coming back. Even though Hudson Card was pretty, nice little.
He was serviceable.
Quinn Ewers comes back. Xavier Worthy against that Oklahoma secondary is gonna be something to watch.
Oh, definitely. Whenever I think of Red River, I just think of the ball flying up and down the field. It's a ton of offense, and it's a can of alphabet soup without one letter. There's no D whatsoever. And I think that's what we're going to see again tomorrow. I really like that tandem of Dillon Gabriel and Marvin Mims. I think Marvin Mims is one of the more underrated wide receivers in college football.
Yeah, Marvin Mims. Yeah, Marvin Mims is, and no Dillon Gabriel probably because he had a concussion last week.
Wow.
With all this, with everything with like Tua and everything with player safety, like teams, like even college football is like, hey, yo, we're not gonna throw our guy out there. It might be a couple weeks till you see Dillon Gabriel. We got to clear concussion protocols, so they might use three different quarterbacks. One of them, I this guy's name, man. It's like the guy from Mets '92, right? It's like the guy's last name from Mets '92. Why would somebody's parent? Okay, your last name's Booty, right?
Yeah.
So why would you name your kid the first name General?
Yeah, I don't get
that. Oklahoma got one of the fascinating quarterbacks names in college football, General Booty.
Hey,
we'll probably see some action. They're gonna have some fun with that name.
General Booty's gonna see some action. All right, yeah.
General
somewhere
Booty.
with this. So.
General Booty reporting to duty. Anyways, guys, I'm getting sidetracked here. Let's go over to the top 25. At number 1, Alabama, rightfully so. Georgia, y'all need to take a step. Y'all need to take a breather. Take a step back. Sit in the back seat for a week or two, because y'all almost losing to Missouri. Y'all wouldn't have been in. Y'all would have been in that Oklahoma discussion like early in the show. You don't deserve to be in the college football.
No, they don't. I mean, look, the last 2 weeks, they've shown you that they're a little human after all. Because I mean, they've been an immovable object for over a year. I think this last year, I think they only gave up the most points they gave up was 41 to Alabama in the in the SEC championship game. And the last 2 weeks they've given up 20. So, Kent State. Right. Kent State, Missouri.
Kent State at home too.
Yeah.
I mean, 22 points against Kent State at home. That's not them.
Yeah, you're starting to see, Georgia with some chinks in their armor. And this is the problem that they had with Stetson Bennett in the past is that, you know, Stetson Bennett, nice little quarterback, college quarterback, but does he really, move that needle? At this point, like with this team, with these teams, right? With these like Georgia teams, like I would like want to have like a Jake Fromm right now. A guy that's gonna but I like Stetson Bennett. I mean, he can get out and he's a he can run the football and stuff like that. But I mean, we just seen like Georgia just kind of get on their high horse a little bit, and kind of underestimate some teams, especially Missouri. They didn't play like they were just in sync at all. But what do the great ones do? I've always said this: the good ones, they always make sure they have a one. Like it might be tight. Bryce Young did it, against Texas, right? Caleb Williams did it on the road against Oregon State, and Stetson Bennett did it this week against last week against Missouri on the road, where he led a drive and they scored a touchdown, and pretty much got in the driver's seat of the rest of the game. So the good ones know how to play well, like have a good drive in some bad games. They're not saying Stetson Bennett played particularly bad, but I'm just saying, like, you'll see those drives.
Right.
But anyways, they take a back seat at number 2, number 3, 4, and 5 still stay the same. Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson. At number 6, USC still stays the same. I think Oklahoma State moved up in the rankings. Let me pull these up on my computer. I think Oklahoma State might have moved up in the rankings at least 2 spots. And then Tennessee stays the same at 8. Then we got Ole Miss jumping up 5 spots, beating Arkansas. Christian, you called that. You said that they were going to beat Arkansas.
Yeah. I mean,
nice call.
Look, kind of saw that coming from a mile away. But look, here's what I'll say. I really think the top 3 teams are the first 3 teams that you read is off that list: Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Georgia. I think Ohio. Look, I think Ohio State. They have arguably the best offense in college football. And the crazy thing is they're doing it without Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he's the end all be all for that offense. But, I kind of treat them like how you and I treat the Buffalo Bills. Can they win that battle in the trenches and can they run the football? I think Travion Henderson and Maya Williams, who actually just got my game ball on Monday evening quarterback last week, 21 carries, $189, 5 touchdowns. This Ohio State team, I like the mentality that they play with because I remember I was watching that game against Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago, and they build up an early lead, like 45-7, and just the intensity that they're playing with. I see a team that kind of plays like they're trailing. You don't see that a lot nowadays. A lot of teams get complacent, and that's how leads get blown. But no, Ryan Day really has them focused.
Yeah, no. Great assessment on Ohio State. Ryan Day has them focused. And ever since that week 1 game where they kind of shake the cobwebs off, they played a good Notre Dame defense. They've been flying high ever since.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Jim Knowles. Like Jim Knowles is known for he's known for what's it called? For getting defenses back on track. And Ohio State was what last year? They were absolutely terrible when it came to stopping the run. And this year, they're one of the best. They're only giving up a little over 81 yards per game on the ground. But I think that's the upper echelon of teams in the country: Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. And then right after that, that's to be determined. You really don't know.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. I'm gonna tell you right now. I think USC, when it's all said and done, USC is going to overthrow Michigan, because I think Michigan loses to Ohio State, they out of there. At the end of the season, Michigan loses to Ohio State, they out of there, right?
Right.
Clemson, I don't think anybody in the ACC could beat Clemson. So Clemson might just high step right into the college football. And then you got to think like Alabama, Georgia, depending on how, who, and what, and how they lose. You know, if Georgia blows out Bama, Bama blows out Georgia. You know, you can see Clemson, you can see USC jump into there. I think Clemson still has. I mean, Clemson. I don't think anybody in ACC is going to be Clemson. I don't think anybody in the Pac-12 is going to beat USC. Besides maybe like Oregon, maybe. And they don't even play Oregon in the regular season schedule.
So the only way they
success is Utah going into Salt Lake on the road in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's their toughest game. After that, you know, they play Cal, they play Arizona, Cal, Colorado. They're at UCLA. UCLA's come on, no, and Notre Dame, no. So USC and Clemson on the same trajectory, in my opinion. Like nobody's, you know, I don't see anybody coming in their way, directing them away from that fourth slot. So it's just really up to the voters of who they think is the better team,
right,
in that moment. So, anyways, round out the top 10 is Penn State. They moved up in ranking, but they moved up one side. Utah moved up one side at 11. Oregon continues to impress. Oregon, Bo Nix. I talked about this. Bo Nix looking like a whole different quarterback ever since that week 1 shellacking that Georgia put on Oregon. Bo Nix has really played well, and you can see that, you know, that he's been able to play freely in this offense. Kentucky drops down six slots, going out of number 13, losing to Ole Miss. And then NC State drops down to 14. They drop down 4 slots, losing to Clemson. And then 15, Wake Forest beating Florida State handedly. I think, man, I love this Wake Forest team. I mean, they almost beat Clemson a couple weeks ago. They dominate. I would say they had control the whole game against Florida State. Sam Hartman is a Heisman Trophy candidate, been for 2 years, in my opinion. What's not to love about Wake Forest, man? Number 16, BYU, going up 3 slots. And then you got 3 teams that weren't ranked that moved into 17, 18, 19. TCU, UCLA, Kansas. Take UCLA with a grain of salt. I don't trust them. DTR, they're 5-0, but I still don't trust UCLA. K-State moves up 5 slots from number 25 into the top 20. Washington moves down 6 slots, losing to UCLA. And then Syracuse, then you got 4 unranked teams from last week moving to the top 25. Syracuse at 22, damn near. I've been talking about Syracuse all year. Love that team. They're starting out 5-0 on the year. Mississippi State, Will Rogers leading that team 4-1. They had a big game. They beat Texas A&M last week. Cincinnati 4-1. Luke Fickell got that team humming again, and then LSU hops in. Your old buddy there, Matt James, Jalen Daniels.
Yes, sir.
Beat Auburn last week.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have a tough one this week against Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Going up against Hendon Hooker, that's gonna be a tough matchup, and I believe that's in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe it's in Knoxville.
No. It's in.
It's in Death Valley.
Yeah, it's in Baton
Yeah,
Rouge.
that's right. It's on the road, but still.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one.
On the road for Tennessee, but it'll still be a tough one for him. I mean, Tennessee's defense can bring it, and I'm not sure if Jaden Daniels is still up for the task.
Yeah, and when I look at these rankings, you know, Washington State, gets it done this week, and beats USC. Oh, they're clearly in. They're clearly in. But the only thing about Washington State is that they're playing on the road, and so that might be a tough task. And the air raid offense, USC secondary, they're athletic. I don't know if Washington State could beat them, but they're next up. Baylor's next up. Arkansas is always going to be hanging around the top 25 this year, in my opinion.
James Madison
hanging around the top 25. They got a matchup too this week, going up against Mississippi State. I think they can beat Mississippi State. I'll actually lead into that's like the next topic when we get to the feature games and the upset picks. And then Watch out for this team. James Madison.
Yes, sir.
James Madison. Christian. James Madison. What did I ever say? James Madison. He could be in the top 25 next week.
Ain't that something?
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm pulling up James Madison because I'm like pulling him out of my hat, but like, nah, James Madison been playing good. James Madison has been playing good football. They're 4-0 so far this year. They beat Coastal Carolina. I mean, they Texas State. They beat the hell out of Middle Tennessee State early in the year. Same Middle Tennessee State team that beat Miami. I think James Madison is a team that can run the football. They're undefeated. They beat Appalachian State 2 weeks ago, 32-28. They might be in the top 25. Another team to look out for, Illinois. Illinois is another team that could possibly be coming into the top 25. So you got to look at some teams that are like not ranked that might come in. Illinois has one of the best running backs in the nation right now. So and TJ's been raving. TJ been raving about this kid all year too. But Illinois definitely Chase Brown. He's definitely been up there in leaguer in college football as one of the leaders in rushing this season. So Illinois is another team that you got to watch out for. They just had that 23-20 loss to Indiana, which whatever. But they beat the hell out of Wisconsin 34-10 in Camp Randall. So Illinois, watch out for Illinois. Anyways, moving on to the feature games of the week. And I'll kind of go through these fast. We got number 8 Tennessee at LSU going into the Bayou. How do you guys see this one shaking out?
Well, when I look at this one, I look at Tennessee, and anything about a Josh Heupel offense. Look at what he did at Central Florida. Run and gun. They want to move that ball up the field. Really looking forward to watching Hendon Hooker play once again. Then LSU, they had to grind that game out last week against Auburn, and they did it with defense, forcing those 4 turnovers of TJ Finley and that Tigers offense and their normal Tiger Bowl, so to say. I think this comes down to which team can consistently keep the other quarterback in the pocket. That's what I think this comes down to, you guys. But at the end of the day, I just think Tennessee has too much offense and too many weapons across the board. I'm going to take Tennessee, and I did preview this one on the site on Tuesday. Go check it out.
Nice.
Go ahead and check out the dailyblitz.blog.
My man.
Christian's website right there. Monday Evening Quarterback as well. That's his podcast, so y'all go check that out. Matt James.
I mean, I called it from the beginning. I told y'all that Tennessee is going to be one of the dark horses. And I said top 15, but now they're top 10. So they're, proving me even wrong. They've been doing much better than I even thought. I mean, as you said, Christian, if you want to go battle of the quarterbacks, me being ASU fan, watching Jaden Daniels, he's done. I mean, he ain't going to do anything against Tennessee's defense. I mean, I've seen him against, weaker defenses in the Pac-12, and he didn't do anything. So, I mean, Hendon Hooker, I even said was a Heisman dark horse too in the preseason, and he's done things. And I think this is the game where he needs to go into Death Valley and prove himself again. And I think he will. He'll have a solid game, throw a few touchdown passes, and Tennessee takes this one probably by like 10 or 14. I mean, I think they're the better team, and they are right now, I'm going to call it, they're a dark horse for the college football playoff.
I'm going Tennessee as well. I think they're the better team. LSU showed me something, though. Auburn went up 2 scores last week, and LSU came back and beat them. And really, I mean, that's not tough to do. I mean, Auburn Auburn, was up 20-some point, and let Mercer score a couple touchdowns. I've been talking about that all year round since they killed me on my parlay. It's always personal with me sometimes, Christian.
Yeah, man. Look, I get it. Look, I get it, brother. I really do. But I get it. I get it.
You get it. Anyways, interesting stat about Tennessee. They lead the SEC in 6 different offensive court categories. They top the nation in 559.3 total yards average per game, 365.8 yards passing, so they're the top passing team. And they scored on all 20. Get this one. They have scored on all 22 trips in the red zone this season. So their red zone offense is perfect. 100% this season. 100%. And on the flip side of things, you got LSU, whose offense has really been kind of inconsistent. Last week they only threw for 85 total yards. Jay Daniels only threw for 80 yards. That's not going to cut it against Tennessee. Matt James brought it up earlier. Like, that's not going to cut it against Tennessee. And I think, the only thing that, has, the only thing that's in LSU's favor is that they're playing in the Bayou. They're playing in Death Valley. They're playing in Baton Rouge. So
11 a.m. though too. It's
yeah, that's the only thing. And so here's another stat: Hendon Hooker has thrown a touchdown pass in 16 straight games.
Wow.
That's the second longest streak in program history. Two off of the mark from Heath Schuler, and we know Heath Schuler was a Heisman Trophy winner or whatever the case was. So yeah, Heath Schuler. Hendon Hooker's been balling. I got Tennessee winning on the road. Next up, we got number 17 TCU going up against Kansas, number 19 in Kansas. How do you guys see this one shaking out?
Well, when I look at TCU, man, I was watching the highlights of that game against Oklahoma, and they can move that ball up and down the field. Like Max Duggan, he threw a pass, Izzy. It was a red zone pass, and he lobbed it up so high, only to the point where his receiver could get it. It wasn't a straight pass. I mean, he placed it perfectly. Man, TCU can run that ball. Sonny Dykes, he's really turned this program around after 22 years of Gary Patterson. Just seems like they needed a change, and this could be the best thing to happen to them. They're balanced on both sides of the ball. I think this is the second best team in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma State. And then Kansas, just what a year they've had. It's been a year of wild moments. Their offense is balanced. They can move the ball up and down the field in different ways, but their defense can be hit or miss. That's the way I'm looking at this one, because I love what they did against Iowa State last week, holding them to under 50 yards rushing. I think they held them to 26 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. Then, where their offense struggles, they struggled against Duke, they struggled against West Virginia, they struggled against Houston, and Houston ran the ball over them. I previewed this one tomorrow on the site about an hour before kickoff. I think it's key for Kansas. They got to keep their emotions in check, because this is a big game. They've never been here, so they don't know what to really experience.
Yeah, and interesting fact before I let Matt James go. College football game day is going to be in Lawrence this week. First time ever. Shout out to Kansas, man. They've been balling. Matt James, how do you think this one's going to shake out?
This is a tough one. I mean, I really want to take TCU in this one. This has been all their own. Defensively,
hey Matt, your mic's a little muffled.
Yeah, I can go either way on this. TCU's been, strong lately, but Kansas, I mean, defensively, they've been really strong, especially on defense lately. So,
Yeah, Kansas has been strong. You're right. I mean, they only allowed 26 rushing yards last week to Iowa State, and TCU, if I'm not mistaken, their running back Kendre Miller leads the nation in yards per carry at 7.43 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's kind of like who's gonna bend
who's gonna break first?
Yeah.
Give me. God, give me Kansas by 3. Just because that they're going to be hyped up like the Fog is during their basketball games. I mean, all the students are going to be there. TCU is going to bring it, but Kansas, I don't know what's going on there, what they're drinking in their water, but
I'm going to tell you what's going on.
Give me Kansas.
I'm going to tell you what's going on with Kansas. I'm going to tell you what's going on with Kansas. One guy, Lance Leopold, Christian. Lance Leopold. No, y'all know who Lance Leopold is. He won 6 Division III titles at Wisconsin Whitewater.
Ain't that something?
6 Division. 6. I'm losing my 6 national titles. 6 of them at Wisconsin Whitewater. Then he went to Buffalo, and he turned around Buffalo in his first year as a Division I head coach. And then the job he's doing at Kansas. I mean, I can appreciate this. This is one of those moments. Lance Leopold, he's the reason why. He's a winner. He's infectious. He's bringing it to this program. And this is why Kansas is in the position that they're at. This is why Jalen Daniels got the best QBR in college football. He's the Heisman Trophy contender or candidate. He's not on my list, but he's in the back of my brain. He's in the back of my brain. And Kansas got Kansas with the number 12th ranked scoring offense in the nation. Lance Leopold is that man.
Right. Izzy, I want to say this too about Lance. I honestly think if the season were to end today, he'd have my vote for Coach of the Year.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, hands down. Lance Leopold should win Coach of the Year. There's no other coach. There's no other coach that I could think of that deserves it, in my opinion. You know, I mean, we could probably, look at with the job that Lincoln Riley's done, at USC, kind of bringing him back into that relevance again, but he's got a lot to work with at USC. Lance Leopold got nothing to work with at Kansas.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, whoever thought Kansas was going to win 5 games total.
But with all that being said, I just think, I would have had Kansas as my upset, as one of my upset picks if I thought Kansas was going to lose. If I thought Kansas was going to win at home. I actually think TCU wins this game on the road. It's going to be a tough game. But I think that man, Kendre Miller, even though we saw it, Christian brought it up, like Houston was able to run that football against them. I know Iowa State wasn't. Kansas has had a stingy defense so far this year, but I think Kendre Miller, they haven't seen a guy like Kendre Miller this year, and he's the guy that can really break it open. They haven't seen a quarterback like Max Dunigan. He's the guy that can really, kill you through the air. So, give me TCU. It's going to be a close one, though. Next game on the slate, number 11, Utah, going up into the Rose Bowl, playing number 18, UCLA. How do you see this one shaking out, Christian?
Man, I look at Utah, and like I always tell you, they have one of my favorite tandems in the country. A really solid 1-2 punch. Cameron Rising, Tavion Thomas, and I think Tavion is just going to be too much for UCLA. I'm with you. I'm not sold on UCLA. I think they finally taste defeat. I like Utah. I just think the Utes are more balanced on both sides of the ball. Strong offensive line, strong running game, stronger receivers, great tight end play. The tight ends can block, but it's that defense. Like, if you ever watch that Utah defense, they're always playing downhill. I still think this is the class of the Pac-12, Izzy, because they're so well balanced. Kyle Whittingham always has them ready to play, has them playing with a lot of confidence. I like Utah.
Matt James?
Yeah, I'm there with you. Christian. I like Utah. I mean, both sides of the ball, they're solid. I mean, just like last year. I mean, they're not 4-1 for no reason. They should have won that Florida game. But
well, you know,
I mean, UCLA, they've been doing well, but I mean, who are they still? I mean, Utah is Utah right now, and they are Pac-12 football. So I think they're going to go into the Rose Bowl and win this one.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I got Utah winning this game. I don't. Once, you know, my rule of thumb with UCLA and my rule of oh my gosh, man. My rule of thumb with UCLA is as soon as I start to believe in this damn team, they just let me down. They just let me down. I cannot pick UCLA even at home against Utah. You're right, Christian. They are the more balanced team in football. You got Cameron Rising, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
You brought it up even too. Tavion Thomas, one of the best running backs in the Pac-12. Last year, you know, he was first team all Pac-12. This year, he's looking good. On the flip side, DTR has played a hell of a season so far.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, he's played a hell of a season so far. And so, you know, when and also Zach Charbonnet, last year he transferred
From Michigan.
Yeah, from Michigan. So, you know, Zach Charbonnet's been playing well too. When I look at, you know, a key matchup, I'm looking at one of the best cornerbacks in the nation going up against UCLA's best wide receiver. And you know who I'm going, Clark Phillips the third.
Yep.
Going up against Jake Bobo. So, you know, I'm looking at that matchup and to see who's gonna get the better of who. I'm gonna go with that guy, Clark Phillips.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with that guy, Clark Phillips. That guy, Clark Phillips, is probably gonna be a first-round pick next year in the NFL draft. Okay, so if he's gonna show out on the national stage tomorrow on Fox. So give me Utah winning this game against UCLA. Next feature game, I got number 16 BYU going up against Notre Dame. How do you guys see this one shaking out? I'll go with Christian first.
Man, BYU. Followed them for those 2 weeks when I previewed their games. Previewed their game against Baylor. Then I did the game against Oregon as well. But, you know, I look at BYU, and they're another team with balance offensively, and I really like that quarterback. Help me out, Izzy. What's his name again? That quarterback for BYU? Jaron Hall.
Yeah, Jaron Hall, my bad.
There we go. Yeah, Jaron Hall reminds me a little bit of Kyler Murray. Just with how he moves and how he throws and just his ability to extend plays. I even see a little Johnny Manziel in his game. Just, you know, with, you know, he's that small. I say he's the mix of three guys. Kyler Murray, Johnny Manziel, and I even see some Flutie in him. That's the name you haven't heard.
Doug Flutie. Wow.
In a while. Doug Flutie. I mean, he's a smaller guy. He hits those receivers in stride. I just don't know if Notre Dame has enough to defend Chase Roberts. He's gonna get the ball. He's really become Jaron's go-to weapon. 6'4", 200-pound possession receiver that they use in the red zone and all over the field. Do I think Notre Dame makes this game interesting? Yes, but I don't think they have enough in the tank. I think BYU goes in there and beats them.
Matt James.
My first question to you, Izzy, what's wrong with Notre Dame?
You said what?
What's wrong with Notre Dame?
They ain't got a quarterback.
They were supposed to be like top 5 right now.
This
was supposed to be a game.
Look.
This was supposed to be a game. They did solid against Ohio State.
Their defense is good. Don't get me wrong. Notre Dame has a good defense. But losing to Marshall, you played good against Ohio State. You dropped your first 2 games. You won your last 2. You beat Cal, but you weren't impressive against Cal. You beat North Carolina. you actually were pretty impressive the first half against North Carolina, but you let them squeak back in a little bit, which I didn't like. But they still beat them by 2 touchdowns, pretty much primarily.
Yeah,
When I look at
because I want to pick Notre Dame. So
you say you're gonna pick Notre Dame.
I want to pick Notre Dame, but I'm scared to. Because BYU, I mean, they went into Autzen Stadium and lost by 3 touchdowns, and that's all they did. They beat Baylor. They beat South
Baylor
Florida on the road.
Overtime.
It's like
in BYU.
BYU, I mean, they're solid. So can they go into South Bend and beat you guys?
So
I mean, this is a tough pick for me. I'm not going to be, I'm being straightforward here.
As you can see, it's one of my upset picks. I got Notre Dame beating number 16 BYU.
Well, yeah.
And I wasn't going to go against Notre Dame against BYU. Period.
It's on,
but I just think that this,
primetime NBC. So I'm going to take. All right, I'm going on the limb. I'm going with you, Izzy. Give me Notre Dame with the upset. They're going to show up tomorrow. They're going to win by 6 points.
Yeah, well, they're not. It's a neutral site game. So
it's in Vegas. That's right.
In Vegas, yeah.
They're going to win in Vegas by 6 points.
Yeah, they're playing in Vegas. So
they're going to show up in Vegas
Notre Dame
and win by 6.
Travel.
That's right. They're in Vegas.
Notre Dame fans travel, and BYU, Provo, Utah is only 4 hours away from Vegas. So
they're going to feel comfortable. They're going to feel too comfortable, and I think Notre Dame will win.
Vegas, what a hell of a spot to have.
I mean, Notre Dame went into Texas and took down ASU. So
don't kill me. Don't kill me. I hope nobody kills me on this podcast. What I'm about to say. But what a hell of a neutral site to have all the Mormon faithful in Vegas. Right?
In Sin City.
What a hell of a sight.
I mean, what a hell of a choice by BYU.
Man. You're like you got sex, you got booze, you got drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like you're over here. You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
But no, give me Notre Dame.
I got Notre Dame winning.
Yeah, I think they'll somehow show up this game like they should have shown up, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, no, I think one key. I think that we have seen some solidification at the quarterback position. There's some vices there in Vegas for the Mormons. Drew Pine, he's been solid at quarterback since Tyler Buckner was lost to the season-ending shoulder surgery. Injury. So Drew Pine has, actually played and stepped in well, 6 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. He's actually been, pretty solid. And he had a great game last week against North Carolina, who's been a solid team. 289 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. I think a key in this game is Michael Mayer. Can BYU? I don't think they've seen a tight end like that this year. I don't think they've seen a tight end like that. Oregon doesn't have one like that. Baylor doesn't. This is a guy that he gets in. He can really attack a safety. He can attack your linebacker, and he gets him in open space. Meyer can be an issue for BYU. Another thing is Notre Dame gets after the quarterback. They're the 12th best in the nation in terms of sacks. 3.25 per game, sacks per game. And they're led by Isaiah Foskey, who can get after the quarterback, who, leads them with 3 sacks on the season. I'm going Notre Dame. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. But I just think BYU's defense isn't ready for a tight end like Michael Mayer. I think Drew Pine has been playing well. I think the defense is going to get at the Jaron Hall. I think the athleticism of Notre Dame and their nationally recruited players, you know, are going to wreak havoc on BYU's offense. I just don't think BYU has enough talent to stay on the field with Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's still young. I think those are Coach Freeman's players that are on Notre Dame, but I just think Notre Dame gets it done this weekend in Las Vegas. I think they win by a touchdown, and it's to be Marcus Freeman's best win, so far in his young head coaching career. Next, I got Texas A&M going into number 1 Alabama. How do you see this one shaking out, Christian?
Texas A&M, Alabama. I think this is the game everybody was really looking forward to. That spat between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, and Texas A&M has really been a disappointment this year. Everybody said Jimbo was bought here to bring this program to relevance once again, and they've been good, but they haven't been great. You see what I'm saying? Like they haven't been what we thought they were gonna be. They haven't been what we saw from Jimbo in Tallahassee at Florida State. They were always ranked amongst one of the best teams in the nation, always had those great recruits. It's been the Texas A&M offense this year. Weren't really getting productive play out of Haynes King. Switched to Max Johnson. I don't think he's the answer either. There's no Anaya Smith for the Aggies. Then you look at Alabama. They've really been, I don't want to say battle tested. I knew Arkansas was going to give them a game, but in the end, Alabama just proved to be too much. Is Bryce Young playing tomorrow? Because I know he left that game last week with the shoulder injury, but they were still able to cruise. I mean, this Alabama offense is different now because you think of...
He's day to day, so we don't know. We might not know up until game time. They have a late game, so it starts at 7. So,
it's a night game, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's a night game. Yeah, so we may not know. We may not know if Bryce Young's game to go or not. I would assume they don't need him necessarily. They don't need him against Texas A&M at home.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, no. I think you let him rest. I think you play the young kid who was playing. Who was that young kid? Is it Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah,
and
Jalen
you look at this Alabama offense is different than what we've seen the last couple of years. Remember, they had that high passing attack because they've had the receivers. This year, they don't really have the receivers, so they've kind of reverted back to their old ways when they were first winning championships with Saban, running the football, and I think that's what's going to carry them tomorrow. I could see them running up and down and through Texas A&M. And remember, they're going to come into this game with a chip on their shoulder. Alabama, they know they haven't looked their best this year, and Texas A&M was the last team to beat Alabama in the regular season. Remember? So I'm going to take Alabama. Texas A&M, they're just not cutting it for me this year. Here's the crazy thing. A couple of weeks ago, I was saying, man, after Alabama and Texas, when they just got by the Longhorns, I was saying to myself, this Alabama team, Texas A&M could beat them. God, those comments aged horribly.
Yeah, no. I think Texas A&M, their defense solid, but the problem is that their offense. Man. I mean, yeah, Haynes King wasn't the answer. Max Johnson, Brad Johnson's kid, isn't the answer. They even got Moose Muhammad's kid playing Texas A&M. I think Jimbo Fisher, if he continues to recruit the way he does, he's gonna have a national powerhouse, a team that might be able to compete with be consistent up there in the top 5, but not this year. The offense is very stagnant, and I just think they don't need Bryce Young in this game. Jalen Milroe was enough, and like you said, the passing attack isn't really all there. I mean, Bryce Young seems sometimes that Bryce Young forces it to his wide receiver sometimes instead of having the game kind of like everything just kind of become natural. I think with Jalen Milroe, you're going to see you're going to see a quarterback that is sharp in the short and intermediate passing game. And he's nothing like Jalen Milroe, something like Nick Saban's never had before. Can you guys agree? I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but he's never had that type of athlete at quarterback. The only one I can think of is the kid from like 2015 after McCarron and those boys. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know. You're not talking about Blake Sims because he wasn't
I think it might be Blake Sims.
Was it Blake Sims?
Was it Blake Sims? I believe Blake Sims could run a little bit. But Jalen Hurts, he's at Jalen Hurts. I forgot about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the guy. But I think Jalen Milroe is way more athletic than Jalen Hurts. I mean, did you see that long run he had, 60-something yards against Arkansas last week? So I think with Jalen Milroe, they're a better rushing. They're going to be a better rushing team. They don't need a Bryce Young against Texas A&M. I got Bama winning this one. Matt,
yeah,
Bama winning this one.
I got Bama comfortably in this one. I mean, Texas A&M hasn't, done what they, Bama's doing Bama things, so give me Bama.
Yeah. And then I got my upset. I could just ride through these real quick. I got Arkansas beating number 23 Mississippi State. I was actually 2 for 3 last week. I predicted Purdue would beat Minnesota, and I predicted Mississippi State to beat Texas A&M. And I didn't get the Oregon State Utah one. But that's all right. I was 2 out of 3 last week. But this week I got Arkansas over Mississippi State and Will Rogers. I got South Carolina. I don't know if South Carolina has. This is kind of a long shot. I usually save my long shots for last, but I kind of already went over Kansas State, Iowa State, and BYU Notre Dame. I think Kansas State. I think K-State loses to Iowa State on the road. Even with Adrian Martinez playing the way he is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but do you trust what's it called? Do you trust Iowa State? Because they've been hit or miss this year.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. They have been hit or miss. But I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna ride with Iowa State at home. They got a good rushing attack. Yeah, actually, let me pull Iowa State's. Let me pull like some of these stats up for Iowa State. They got a good rushing attack against going up against Kansas. They're on the road this year. They are 3-2. I'm gonna swing for the fences on this one. I'm gonna go with the fact that the home team, is gonna have the crowd behind them.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna force. I mean, at this point, you have to freaking force Adrian Martinez to try and pass the ball, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to because that's what you're gonna have to load that box. You're gonna have to sit guys on that line of scrimmage and dare him to beat you with his arm.
Yeah, and Decker's at quarterback, no slouch, over 1,300 yards this year. They have a bit of a pass attack. A guy that I'm gonna be looking out for is Jarrell Brock, though, the running back from Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a guy that can get loose a little bit on Kansas State at home. He's a big back, north-south runner, bruising runner. So I think Iowa State, can give K-State some problems. On the road.
I agree.
Then there's another guy, Xavier Hutchinson. He's another guy, 6'3", 205, big body wide receiver. 500 yards so far on the year, 49 catches, 5 touchdowns. He's on pace to have over 100 catches this year. So that's another guy. K-State's got to contend with him. So give me Iowa State at home. It was my upset pick. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking with South Carolina going up against Kentucky. I may want to just wipe that one off the board. That's a long shot, Christian.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But Kentucky beat themselves last week against Ole Miss. Just careless football and not coming away with points when the opportunity presented itself to them.
Yeah. Man. Oh my gosh, man. Spencer Rattler, man, his fall from grace has been insane.
That's what happens, man, when you get a little too cocky. You always got to be humble.
Oh my God, his fall from grace. He's got 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in the SEC so far. that's just not going to cut it. I mean, you're not going to go. Your prospects of making it to the NFL and being successful with those numbers are not in your favor, buddy. In this game, you actually see a kid in Spencer Rattler, who was the number one quarterback in the nation, going up against a kid who's the number one quarterback, who could be the number one quarterback picked in the NFL draft next year.
Exactly. Yep.
Will Levis, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the most pro-ready quarterback.
Oh yeah,
in college football, right?
Oh, yeah.
Him and Sam Hartman, I think, are the next two that'll make that smooth transition over to the National Football League.
The one thing, the one thing I'll say, like Will Levis has the size too. He's a big dude. Will Levis has the size. He's a big dude, man. The one thing I will say, great thing you brought up Sam Hartman. He doesn't have the size that Will Levis does. Will Levis has that prototypical pro style quarterback size, 6'3", 232, while Sam Hartman's more like Drew Brees.
Exactly.
And he relies on immense touch and just flow on the offense. I love watching Sam Hartman play. I'm sorry. I just think on the road, you're right. Kentucky did beat themselves against Ole Miss. Do they beat themselves against South Carolina? I'm not sure, but if there's a guy that can this game, in my opinion, between, and I don't think Matt James here. This game, in my opinion, Spencer Rattler, he needs this game more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he needs to come on here and pull a virtuoso type of performance against Will Levis. He needs this game more than anything. And I think this is a game that he's got on the calendar. He's like, okay, Will Levis, number one quarterback, draft prospect, maybe in college football right now. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, it's a tie between maybe those three. We're on the road, Kentucky, right? I need to have a virtuoso type of performance to propel my team this season. We're 3-2 so far. You just came off of a rout against South Carolina State. I think, and he's not playing particularly. He's throwing a lot of picks this year. I think Spencer Rattler needs this game more than anything to keep, at least, something, in the, to be at least a late round pick in next year's draft. He looks at this game. I think Spencer Rattler's on point. I think South Carolina's defense, South Carolina's defense is not good.
No, they're not. We saw
good.
that a couple of weeks ago when they played Georgia. Did you see the way that Michael Mayer was moving the football on them down the field? And here's my thing. Georgia pretty much told South Carolina's defense, that's who we're getting the ball to, without saying it. They just did it.
Right. And it's not like the 3 wins that South Carolina has are against. I mean, they beat, Georgia State, Charlotte, and South Carolina State. So, they haven't really beat, great competition.
Right.
But then on the flip side, Kentucky, I mean, they beat Florida, but they almost lost to NIU at home, and then they lost to Ole Miss on the road. So, Kentucky has some problems as well. And Kentucky's not that great. They give up some yards too on defense. So, if there's a team that could, get the ball field, South Carolina averages 257 yards passing per game. So we'll see as a long shot. And then moving forward to my next topic, Heisman watch. I'll go real quick here. Same, 3 stay in that order. C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, all 3 at the top of the list. And then we got Hendon Hooker sliding up 1 slot. And then I put Adrian Martinez in the top 5 of the Heisman watch, man. Adrian Martinez, man. I talked about him early in the show. I'm talking about him at the end of the show. 9 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games. Adrian Martinez has been sensational this year for K-State. So he jumps into the Heisman list. And then my dark horse still, Blake Corum. He's been on the chair this year for Michigan. Now, I'm outside looking in. I got Sam Hartman, DJ Uyunglele, and Stetson Bennett has slid down to my outside looking in. And then sliding out of the Heisman race is Will Anderson. He's just, Will Anderson's, I think, is just cruising right now.
Yeah, I think he's cruising
to
the next level. And on top of that, he's that one piece on Alabama that you have to circle in on. Like, don't let anybody but him wrecking your offensive game plan.
Right. Yeah, he's just cruising right now. I thought he would lead the couch. I still think he's gonna get like 17 sacks or so, 17 to 20 sacks. I thought he was gonna break the sack record. I don't think he's going to do that unless he has a hell of a couple game stretch or 3 game stretch. But yeah, these are my Heisman candidates. And somebody to watch. Where I mentioned them earlier. Jalen Daniels is a guy to watch out for from Kansas. Godly, I gotta throw some names out there. I could put out Cameron Rising from Utah. He's another guy we can throw out there. That's in the Heisman watch. Godly. But right now these are the guys so far in my list right now. And I don't know if you have any other names that you want to throw in there or throw out there, but
nah, I definitely agree with everything that you put on the list.
Yeah, no, definitely. And shoot, I don't even think Godly. I don't even have like Trey Henderson on the watch list or anything on the radar, but he's another guy that if he has a good stretch, he could be a Heisman type of candidate down the road. Will Levis, if he continues to play well, he can jump back into this list a little bit. I know I had him on the radar here early on in the season, but he's kind of fell out. So yeah, no, this is the Heisman rankings right here. Let me know down in the comments who do you guys think should be in the Heisman rankings, or who I left out, or you think I left out, and also share me some of your upset picks or feature games that you think are going to be interesting this weekend. But anyways, that's been a wrap, everybody. Go ahead and please like, share, and subscribe to Prime Sports World. Go ahead and like the NFL Supreme Facebook page, NBA Supreme Facebook page, and keep it here locked with Prime Sports World. We're going live 7 days a week. I don't think we're going live 7 days this week, but we go live almost 6 to 7 days a week, bringing you the heat,
ladies and gentlemen. The only way we know how.
Bringing you the heat, ladies and gentlemen. And I promise I won't melt any more marshmallows with a lighter, as everybody wants to get on me about that. Okay. I didn't need it. TJ, it was a prop. It was a prop, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, I'm Israel Rivera. That's Christian Simpson. And Matt James was joining us. He dropped out of the podcast before we ended the show. But you guys keep it locked here. We'll come back here with Week 7 College Football Showdown next Friday, every Friday. And look out for college football, college basketball madness coming up in a week or two here as me and Matt James will probably bring in, and I'll probably see if TJ wants to hop on that show as well. And we'll probably be bringing that content here every weekend as well. So keep it locked here with Prime Sports World, man. We're bringing you that content every week going live. So you guys have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Don't drink too much. Drink responsibly, man. And man, in case I miss you, man, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy.